So let me paint a picture for you. 10 years ago, you were making $32,000 a year. You were sharing a cramped apartment with a roommate, eating ramen more often than you'd like to admit, and checking your bank account balance before every purchase. You remember lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, thinking to yourself, if I could just make $50,000, everything would be different. I could finally breathe. I could finally stop worrying. Fast forward to the day. You did everything right. You got the degree. You climbed the ladder. You switched jobs strategically. You negotiated harder. And now you're pulling in $85,000 a year. That's more than double what you used to make. You moved into your own place. You drive a decent car. You don't have to check your account before buying coffee anymore. And yet, here you are watching a video about why you still feel broke. You're making $85,000, and somehow, at the end of every month, you're looking at your account wondering where it all went. You're making more money than 70% of Americans, and you still feel like you're barely keeping your head above water. Actually, if you're being really honest with yourself, you might feel more financially stressed now than you did back when you were making $32,000. And here's the wildest part. Right now, somewhere in the back of your mind, you're already thinking, if I could just hit six figures, then I'd finally feel comfortable. Then I'd finally feel rich. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. I spend way too much time researching why our brains sabotage our financial peace, no matter how much money we throw at the problem. If you're someone who keeps leveling up financially but never actually feels like you've arrived, or if you've ever wondered why your bank account says one thing but your emotions say something completely different, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button if this video opens your eyes. Because what I'm about to show you isn't just going to explain why you feel broke. It's going to show you why you're designed to feel broke, and more importantly, how to finally break free from that cycle. Here's the thing. What you're experiencing isn't a personal failure. It's not that you're bad with money. It's not that you're irresponsible. It's not that you need a better budgeting app or more discipline. And it's definitely not that you just need to make a little bit more. What you're experiencing is the result of two invisible forces that have been working against you since the day you earned your first paycheck. The first force is biological. It's hardwired into your brain through millions of years of evolution. The second force is environmental. It's engineered by a multi-trillion-dollar economy that profits from your perpetual dissatisfaction. Together, these two forces create what I call the broke loop, a psychological trap that ensures you will always feel financially inadequate, no matter how much money you actually have. And once you understand how this loop works, you'll finally see why you've been running on a treadmill that was never designed to let you reach the finish line. More importantly, you'll learn how to step off. Let's start with your brain, because that's where this whole problem begins. In the 1970s, psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell identified a phenomenon they called hedonic adaptation. The basic premise is almost painfully simple. Humans have an extraordinary ability to adapt to changes in their circumstances, always returning to a baseline level of happiness. You get a raise. You feel amazing for a few weeks. Then it becomes your new normal. The happiness fades. You need another raise. You buy a new car. You're thrilled. 6 months later, it's just your car. You start noticing the newer model. This isn't weakness. This is biology. A landmark 1978 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology did something remarkable. Researchers compared the happiness levels of lottery winners with those of people who had been paralyzed in accidents. What they found shocked the scientific community. Just 1 year after their life-changing events, lottery winners were not significantly happier than the control group, and in some cases, they actually reported deriving less pleasure from ordinary daily activities than they had before winning. Think about that for a second. People who won millions of dollars became worse at enjoying simple pleasures. Their baseline didn't rise, their expectations did. But here's where it gets really interesting. A 2006 study in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that the adaptation period for income increases is remarkably short. Most people fully adapt to a raise within just 3 to 4 months. That $10,000 salary bump that felt life-changing in January? By May, your brain has completely recalibrated. It's not a bonus anymore. It's just what you make. Your brain has a financial thermostat, and no matter how high you turn up the income, it keeps resetting itself back to not quite enough. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but surely at some point, more money does make you happier, right? And you'd be partially correct. In 2010, Nobel laureates Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton analyzed over 450,000 survey responses and found that emotional well-being does rise with income, but only up to about $75,000 per year. Beyond that threshold, more money had essentially zero impact on day-to-day emotional experience. Adjusted for inflation, that number today is roughly $95,000 to $100,000. A more recent 2021 study by Matthew Killingsworth at Wharton challenged this finding slightly, suggesting that happiness does continue to rise past that point, but at a drastically diminished rate. Here's what that means in practical terms. If going from $50,000 to $100,000 gives you, let's say, 20 units of increased happiness, going from $100,000 to $200,000 might only give you 4 or 5 additional units. You doubled your income. You probably more than doubled your stress, your hours, your responsibility, and you got a fraction of the emotional return. This is why millionaires feel broke. This is why professional athletes go bankrupt. This is why lottery winners end up more miserable than before they won. Your brain doesn't care about the number in your account. It only cares about whether that number feels like enough. And it's designed to make sure nothing ever feels like enough. Now, if biology was the only problem, you could maybe manage it with some awareness and gratitude practices. But here's where the second force comes in, and this one is far more sinister. You live inside an economic system that is specifically engineered to make you feel inadequate. The average American is exposed to somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements per day. Every single one of those ads has one job: to create a gap between where you are and where you think you should be. To manufacture dissatisfaction. To make you feel like you're missing something. You open Instagram and see someone with a nicer apartment. You watch YouTube and get hit with ads for investment platforms, showing people your age who are further ahead. You scroll TikTok and see lifestyle content that makes your perfectly good life feel inadequate. This isn't accidental. This is a $700 billion global advertising industry doing exactly what it's designed to do. Here's what most people don't realize. The average American now spends approximately $18,000 per year on non-essential goods and services, not necessities, wants. And a huge percentage of those purchases are made to close a gap that advertising created in the first place. A 2022 study from the American Psychological Association found that increased social media use was directly correlated with what researchers call financial anxiety. The persistent feeling that you're behind financially, regardless of actual income level. Read that again. Regardless of actual income level. The study found that people making over $100,000 who use social media heavily reported the same levels of financial anxiety as people making $40,000. Your income isn't the problem. Your information environment is. You're comparing your everyday life to everyone else's highlight reel. You're measuring your chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 20. And you're doing it thousands of times per day without even realizing it. Let me show you how these two forces combine to keep you trapped using real numbers. Let's say you're 28 years old, making $55,000. After federal taxes, state taxes, and FICA, you're taking home roughly $43,000. That's about $30,580 per month. Your fixed expenses, rent, utilities, car payment, insurance, groceries, phone, come out to about $2,600. That leaves you with roughly $980 in discretionary income. It feels tight. You're making it work, but you constantly feel like you're one emergency away from disaster. Then you land a new job. You're now making $80,000. After taxes, you're bringing home about $61,000, roughly $50,080 per month. Here's what happens next. And be honest about whether this sounds familiar. You move to a better apartment because you deserve it after working so hard. That's an extra $450 per month. You upgrade your car because the monthly payment is only $200 more and you need something reliable for the new commute. You start ordering DoorDash more often because you're busy and tired. That's maybe $250 extra a month. You subscribe to a few more streaming services, upgrade your phone plan, buy nicer clothes for work, join a gym you rarely use, and start going out with coworkers more often. Suddenly, your fixed and semi-fixed expenses have ballooned to $4,200 per month. Your discretionary income? About $880. You got a $25,000 raise, and you now have less breathing room than before. This is lifestyle inflation. And it's not just about discipline. It's about your brain adapting to the new income and immediately recalibrating normal to match it. The hedonic treadmill doesn't just affect how you feel about money. It affects how you spend money. Your expectations rise automatically, and your spending rises to meet them. Now, you might be thinking this is just a problem for people who aren't paying attention. High earners must have this figured out, right? Wrong. According to a 2023 report from Lending Club, 49% of Americans earning over $100,000 per year reported living paycheck to paycheck. Let me say that again. Half of six-figure earners feel like they have no financial margin. A 2022 survey from PIMNTS found that 36% of people earning over $200,000 also identified as paycheck to paycheck. These aren't people who can't afford their lives. These are people whose lives have expanded to consume whatever resources become available. It's not an income problem. It's an adaptation problem. It's an expectation problem. It's an environment problem. And here's the most disturbing part. When researchers ask these high earners how much more they would need to feel comfortable, the answer is almost always the same. About 20 to 30% more than they currently make. Ask someone making $80,000 what they need. They'll say $100,000. Ask someone making $150,000. They'll say $200,000. Ask someone making $400,000. They'll say $500,000. The goalpost doesn't just move. It's designed to move. That's the whole system. Now you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Money doesn't buy happiness. Am I just supposed to stop wanting a better life? Am I supposed to live like a monk and never enjoy my money? No. And this is where most financial content gets it completely wrong. The goal isn't to eliminate ambition. The goal isn't to stop wanting things. The goal is to start wanting things intentionally rather than automatically. There's a massive difference between upgrading your apartment because you've consciously decided that space and quiet are core values for you, versus upgrading your apartment because that's just what people do when they get a raise. The first is intentional. The second is reactive, and your brain doesn't know the difference in the moment, but your bank account will know the difference over 10 years. The broke loop runs on autopilot. It runs on the assumption that more is better, that upgrades equal progress, that your current self will finally be satisfied by the thing your past self was chasing. But your current self has already adapted to what your past self dreamed about. That apartment you fantasized about 3 years ago. You have it now and you barely notice it. Your brain has moved on to wanting the next thing. You can't beat this game by earning more. You can only beat it by changing how you play. Let me introduce you to a concept that researchers call the satisfaction trifecta. Is the intersection of 3 elements that actually predict financial contentment, regardless of income level. The first element is financial clarity. This means knowing exactly where your money goes, not approximately, not vaguely, exactly. Studies show that people who track their spending report significantly higher financial satisfaction than those with similar incomes who don't track. Why? Because uncertainty creates anxiety. When you don't know where your money goes, your brain fills that gap with worry. Clarity kills the anxiety, even when the numbers aren't perfect. The second element is progress visibility. Humans are wired to feel good when we see ourselves moving forward. A 2016 study from the Harvard Business Review found that the single biggest motivator in work wasn't money or recognition. It was making visible progress toward meaningful goals. The same applies to finances. If you can see your net worth growing, your debt shrinking, or your investments compounding, you feel wealthy in a way that has nothing to do with the absolute numbers. The movement matters more than the position. The third element is values alignment. This is spending your money on things that actually matter to you, not things that you think should matter to you based on what everyone else is buying. Research consistently shows that people who spend money on experiences, relationships, and personal growth report higher satisfaction than those who spend on status symbols and material upgrades. A weekend trip with friends costs $400 and creates memories you'll talk about for years. A designer watch costs $4,000 and you'll stop noticing it within 6 months. The math here is brutal once you see it. So what do you actually do with all this information? How do you break the broke loop and start feeling wealthy at your current income? Let me give you 4 concrete strategies. Strategy 1, implement a raise quarantine. The next time you get a raise, do absolutely nothing with it for 90 days. Don't upgrade anything. Don't increase any subscriptions. Don't move apartments. Don't buy a new car. Just let the extra money accumulate in your account for 3 months. This does 2 things. First, it prevents the automatic lifestyle inflation that traps most people. Second, it lets you see how much your life actually costs without the income expanding to fill it. After 90 days, you can make intentional decisions about what, if anything, you want to upgrade. But by then, you'll have built a buffer, and you'll approach the decision from a place of clarity rather than excitement. Strategy 2. Practice strategic comparison. You can't stop comparing yourself to others. That's hardwired. But you can choose your comparison targets. Instead of comparing yourself to the curated highlight reels on social media, compare yourself to your past self. Are you better off than you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Alternatively, compare yourself to the statistical average. If you're making $60,000, you're earning more than 55% of American workers. If you're making $80,000, you're in the top third. If you're making 6 figures, you're in the top 15%. Your brain thinks you're behind because it's comparing you to billionaires and influencers. Give it better data. Strategy 3, create a enough number and write it down. One of the most powerful exercises you can do is to sit down and actually define what enough looks like for you, not what society says, not what your parents expect, what you actually need to live a life you be proud of. Write down the monthly income that would cover your ideal lifestyle. Be specific. Include housing, food, transportation, entertainment, travel, everything. For most people, this number is significantly lower than they expect. And once you have it, you have a finish line. You have a target that doesn't move because you set it consciously rather than letting your adapting brain set it automatically. Strategy 4. Implement a 72-hour rule for non-essential purchases. Impulse spending is adaptation in real time. You see something, you want it, you buy it, and 3 days later you've already forgotten the satisfaction of purchasing it. For any non-essential purchase over $100, wait 72 hours before buying. Most of the time, the desire fades completely. And when it doesn't, you know it's something you actually want, not something the broke loop convinced you to chase. Look, I want to leave you with this. The broke loop isn't a character flaw. It's an operating system that evolved to keep your ancestors striving in a world of genuine scarcity. The problem is that you're now running that ancient software in a world of manufactured scarcity, surrounded by algorithms designed to exploit your deepest psychological vulnerabilities. Every ad, every influencer, every limited time offer is trying to convince you that you're not quite there yet, that happiness is one purchase away. And your brain, with its relentless adaptation to everything good you've ever achieved, makes this message feel true, even when your bank account says otherwise. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're human. But being human also means you have something your ancestors didn't: the ability to recognize the game and choose not to play. You can decide that enough is a decision, not a destination. You can track your progress and watch yourself move forward. You can spend on what genuinely matters and let go of what doesn't. You can step off the treadmill without giving up on growth. Because here's the truth nobody tells you: the feeling of wealth isn't on the other side of some income milestone. It's available right now, for free, the moment you stop chasing a finish line that was never real and start appreciating how far you've already come. If this video helped you see your finances differently, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges how you think about money. I'll see you in the next one.